Is today RISC OS developments and also Genesis, as Genesis has got some interesting bits, but I'll do that in a second. I'd like to just run through everything that I've got here, and then preferably I'd like to take questions at the end, but if it really is a burning question you have to ask, can we do it as we used to do at school? Can somebody put their hand up and wave? And I'll be putting these glasses on and off because I'm getting old.
If you're not as old as me.
Thank you, Charles. That's reassuring. I don't want to catch up with you either.
You're one of the young ones.
Sorry?
You're one of the young ones,
Yes. Wish you tell my knees that sometimes. Right. So, first of all, thank you all for coming to the show. I hope you get to see everybody that you need to and that you thoroughly enjoy yourselves. For Andrew and myself, it's been a very busy summer. We've been working very hard. Andrew more especially, to be quite honest. I only break things. He's the one that has to get things back to various authors to get them fixed and to say, why does Richard do something this stupid? But we have been polishing Iris, and I hope it's now bright and sparkly. It will be ready to download and it will be put up. It'll have to be next week because both of us just ran out of time. I'm very sorry for that. I do apologise. But this version of Iris is the one that, in our mind, is what we're calling the public version. So this is the release. So after that, you can all complain visibly to us how slow it is. It doesn't work, and in actual fact, I don't think I'm going to hear that. I know that you can do shopping at Tesco's and Waitrose and places like that. All things that traditionally we haven't been able to do on RISC OS. So I really hope that you all will enjoy that. One of the other things that Andrew has spent some time on the summer doing is quite a number of people requested that Iris be made available using the Pack Manager system. So Andrew's worked very hard alongside Lee Knorr and Chris Branston, and we really do want to offer our thanks to them for all the help that they've given to Andrew, and that has now been made, that should now be made available to you all as well. There will be instructions for that. I haven't actually used it myself. Andrew's been saying some choice expressions about it, but we can provide it to you in both ways. If you are going to use Pack Manager though, if you've got a chance on the stand to say thank you to Andrew and say that is something I'm going to use. I know that he announced it the other day and he felt a little bit deflated. And he is tired when he comes to a show because of all the hard work he puts in. But nobody came back and said, oh, that's great, thank you. So if you are going to use the Pack Manager, or you think it was a good idea, do say that to Andrew, please. That's not part of the talk and you shouldn't have heard that. But if you do that for me, I would be very grateful to you all as well. So, the next thing that Rod's has been doing is putting RISC OS Direct on a Raspberry Pi 5. So before you all jump, unfortunately, not natively, I can see some heads nodding, so you've obviously seen some of the chatting that's been going on. We felt that we really needed something because, yes, it's great that we're running it on everything upwards of Pi 4, but with the fact that the Pi Foundation has now moved to 64-bit only, and we're still lagging a little bit behind in having RISC OS native 64-bit. We are working on it, we are discussing it, and we will try to do it. And obviously, quick plug for all, they have their rocket ship, I believe, and they have their push towards it as well. So between us all, I'm sure at some point in the not too distant future, we will have something that will satisfy that particular one. But in the meantime, we've got these new machines. They're faster, they're quicker, as all computers seem to be these days. Not necessarily better, but we can get a speed boost. So Andrew again spent some time looking at this, and he's been able to do it as an application that runs on the top of Linux. He's done some good bench tests. Most of the code is run natively, so there are bits that do run natively, which does give us that nice high performance that we're used to and that we're looking for in a machine. If you come into, I think it's the next talk, unfortunately, but I think it's Andrew next. If you boo, hiss, and tell him it's behind him as a pantomime, I believe he could show that. So you can actually demonstrate that. He's got a machine here today. So it's got the RISC OS Direct has got most of the popular applications. It's compatible monitor definitions. Network, obviously, it's got the TCP/IP stack that we provide with RISC OS Direct. So most things should work as you would expect. NetSurf, Fling Store. Unfortunately, one of the things that at the moment we haven't been able to get to work is Iris. But on the other hand, if you're running it full screen or in a window on a Pi 5, you've got Linux there. I know I shouldn't say this, but you could always go and use a different browser. We want to keep you in RISC OS, so obviously that's something that we're going to have to just keep working at, and we'll see what transpires in the future. Again, always ask Andrew if you've got a real technical question, because you know that I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes when it comes to those things. The other small downside is at the moment there's no sound support, and the lack that this is where Iris doesn't work because of the ARMv7. But apart from that, I think you'll find that it's quite a reasonable experience. So if you do want to push ahead with RISC OS on a Pi 5, we've provided something that you can have a play with, whet your appetite. And if you want to get the brain cogs into gear and you're a good programmer, always talk to us. We'll always be happy to encourage you to give us any code that you can come up with. Wi-Fi and TCP/IP and Network Manager, of course. That's all now rolled into the TCP/IP that you can download from the RISC OS Development's website. The latest one, I'm afraid, again, I couldn't quite get up. We just ran out of time, so that will hopefully be resolved Monday, Tuesday, and we'll get that up so that everyone can download it if they haven't got the latest version. I believe it's now version 7.09. The last one I had on my machine was, I think, 7, but stop that flashing at you. So, apart from, yes, there's always something going on with the stack where we tweak it, we test it, and then we put it out. There's nothing major at the moment. It's quite a nice, stable piece of software. And great thanks to Andy Moore and John Balance. John's not here today, but I know Andy is. I could point him out to you, but I think most of you would have met him in the past. But he'll be wandering around at the show and will be hovering near the stand. So I can introduce you if you want to say something nice to him. If you don't like it, address it to me. One of the other small items, and this is slightly more niche, but as you're aware, one of the things that started the TCP IP stack development off in the first place was because we had a commercial customer, and they basically paid money for Andy's and John's time, and that's great. We delivered it to them. They're very happy with it. Now, as Genesis, my company, I have various commercial customers as well as a good number of you that I look after for emails, domains, broadband, and other odds and ends that people phone me up about. But I do have commercial customers, and we have a project that we're in the very early stages of, but needed a way to back up the database that I use, and I think I've demonstrated it to most of you over the years. This is going to be a black box affair, so unfortunately the company won't know that it's RISC OS, but we need to back up their data. Their data is going to be stored on a partition on a different machine, so we'll have the native RISC OS machine that's doing the hard work. The data will be stored on a virtual partition, and that virtual partition needs to be backed up to another local machine. That local machine needs to be backed up yet again, where it's assuming it's going to be off-site, although it may be within the same building where the main box is going to be. That's not as simple as it's very easy to say, and in Linux or in Windows or in RISC OS, we've got things like SafeStore. We've got many different backup packages for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, but none of them actually quite fit with what we need to do for our customer. So we decided that we needed a file core RISC OS native alternative so that it could sit on a network on a normal machine. So it's now being built into NVMe FS that's available for most of the machines. So we decided, well, let's see, once we've got some software, let's see what we can do. So we popped the file core partition on a machine. We placed it in one part of the country, and then we accessed it securely from a client several hundred miles away. And we were actually quite surprised that it worked first time out of the box. It had been tested, obviously, locally, but I'd like to show you that working, if I may. If you notice, I've clicked on, at the moment, it's called NVMe FS Filer. It's very basic, it just tells us what it does. So I then menu over it, say connect, and again, just a standard section that you can see there, a server, a username, a password, and if you fill it in for the first time, then you would click on Find Disks. In this instance, we have one, or we have a couple there. So I'm going to connect to it. I've said remember the connection, so we don't have to put the horrible passwords that we put in. And if you notice now, bottom left-hand corner, we have a hard drive icon that says media, and we just have various bits and pieces in there. So let's just drag and drop it, and there is the Strong-End KeyMap 35K. So obviously you're well aware then the client is sitting here on my Pinebook Pro. The server machine with the RISC OS partition on it that we're looking at is back in the office, the other side of Southend. So not quite hundreds of miles away today, but that's been done over the internet, over the Wi-Fi, from a native RISC OS partition sitting on a Linux machine to a desktop RISC OS machine here. So it's one of the benefits of dealing with commercial clients is that they need to have things, we have to provide them, so it drives us to innovate and put things on. And just to be absolutely silly, most of you will have seen Big Buck Bunny and Tears of Steel. If you've ever bought a machine from Andrew, that's something that he puts on them. Now, this is not what it's designed for, but let's see if it will behave for us. It has on every other demo that I've done and that we've tested. It takes a little bit of time to sort itself out, which when you're doing a demo like this, of course, is very stressful. Obviously no sound. But there we are. We're streaming a fairly, what have we got? 226 megabyte MPEG video from a server across the internet over the Wi-Fi to this laptop here. Yes, it's a little bit choppy, but then again, we are limited to how fast the internet line that Genesis runs at. So it's a little bit faster. It's not a 20 meg upload speed. We're running at 115. But I think it demonstrates quite nicely for a very alpha piece of filing that we need to polish up and sort out. And again, because this is something that's all part and parcel of ROM, we will be putting this in. It will be available free of charge on the RISC OS Directs as time goes forward. So even if we don't implement it for our commercial customer, if something doesn't work, then it will still be something that can be popped in and made available to everyone. That's not going to push my luck too far. So, just some facts here, so forgive me if I just read these. So it's acting like a RISC OS hard drive. It's a file core based solution. So one of the things is, of course, you're not going to have issues with file types, and you won't have to put it in a zip folder, a zipped up folder. It appears as part of the NVMe FS. There's a limit of 4 simultaneous mounts. You saw when I clicked on Connect that there was a second one here. So I'll click on that. And hopefully it will behave. Yep, there we are. So we've now got a second virtual partition. Obviously there's no practical limit from the server side. We can put that on as many servers with as many partitions as necessary. Communication backwards and forwards will be encrypted. And if you have that on a Linux partition, you can have that partition encrypted as well. So if you're doing a backup from a local machine, that could be a very good way of doing things. But there's security there. Performance does depend on your network and internet connection. But we have seen read speeds in excess of 40 megabits per second and write speeds in excess of 20 meg. Obviously, over the internet, it's a lot less. So there we've seen 0.7 megabits read and 0.3 on our Orpheus home fibre to the cabinet link. So that would be on an 80/20 system. So really no different to what we're seeing here. You can only have one computer mounting a particular drive at any one time, but then you can simply dismount that and select another one. Again,
Sorry, my bad, right, 40 megabytes, not megabits.
Sorry, 40 megabytes.
Yes.
Do apologise. 40 megabytes read and 30 megabytes write locally. And that's most probably, I think at the moment, all I can say and show you on this. Before I finish with Rod and move on to Genesis though, Rod, and you may have missed this one, we are now running a GitLab, and the address is gitlab.riscosdev.com. So if you go there, there is a button that I understand that says Explore, so you can click on that. We have 4 projects listed at the moment, Pinboard 2, CacheFS, Network Manager and TCP IP stack, with all the things that you would associate with GitLab. And as I'm not a programmer, I'm not going to say what that is because I don't know. But I hope you'll, if you're interested, you'll go and have a look there. We will be putting other things up. I'm assuming that we will possibly put up the RISC OS Direct. I'm not sure what form that would take, but if you feel there is something that Rod should have on there, do get in touch with Andrew and talk to him about it, and I'm sure he'd be interested to hear what you have to say. I hope you found the Rod update interesting. Going to move on to Genesis now, and what we've been doing. So you would have been aware if you were at my last talk that we were doing a move to ARM-based servers for the ability, well, it's ARM. Of course, I want to use ARM. We need to use ARM. Let's make certain we carry on buying ARM chips that we use though. So we've now completed that. So I can honestly say that 4/5 of the electricity we were using this time last year, we are now not using this year. So ARM chips really do actually pay. It's marvellous. So if you've got lots of ARM chips lurking, lots of SBCs lurking around and RISC OS machines, I hope you have a warm fuzzy feeling that you're not having too big an electricity. If you add solar panels and batteries, it gets even better. So I did notice the other day we've had solar panels for 10 years, but I did notice that we were exporting 1.5 kilowatts. So everything that was running in my office, I wasn't actually having to pay for. So that's good these days. Don't know where the next tax rate is coming from. So, and one other benefit that I really hadn't quite considered is if you have a twin Xeon blade 19-inch rack mount machine with 2 power supplies in, you get something like 16 plus fans running. It's like a wind tunnel. It is so noisy. I used to go in, and if I was having to do something physical, I'd pop headphones in, especially if I was on the phone to my server man, and it was difficult sometimes for him to hear me. I reckon now it's about 1% of that noise. I think I could go in there, put a mattress on the floor, and actually sleep there overnight. It is that quiet, so huge difference. So with the NVMe FS that I've demonstrated to you, it has occurred to me that although we have offered as Genesis backup solutions in the past by providing RAID QNAP boxes, that's been our preferred method, and then the QNAP box talks to a QNAP box at my end and we do offsite backups. You still had to put your files on there from, if you were putting RISC OS, it was more problematic. Now, I know that NSR was able to offer quite a good solution that a number of you have had, but due to the people that they were using their commercials, they changed the API, I believe, at the beginning of this year, and that's caused quite some difficulties for the RISC OS side of things. I think there may be a hole in the market here. Maybe this is something you would be interested in, of being able to say, well, we've got this NVMe FS filer system that is available, that can run on a normal RISC OS machine. So, would you be interested if we supplied the virtual partitions? As you can see, you have to use a username and password, so you're not going to be sharing it with anybody else in the room. I can guarantee you that. Right, so I've seen one hand that's come up. Would you like to give me a general show of hands? Anyone else may be interested? Okay. If you are, come and see me on the stand. Give me your name. It's just something that we've been discussing in the last couple of weeks, so that's how early this idea is. And as we've got the show, thank you for responding and saying that you might be interested. I'll look to see if we can put something together for that. It's not something that's going to be available in the short term. It's going to be a reasonable number of months, because that software is alpha, and although it's worked very well every time I've tested it, we haven't tested it thoroughly enough to just offer that straight out. So it's something that we need to look at, but you've seen the potential. It's going to be encrypted as well, which is nice. So from end to end, there should be no data loss, unless some of you are multi-millionaires and people are trying to hack you and the rest of us don't know about it. But if you are, and you want to donate to RISC OS developments to do 64-bit, we will happily take your money. So, thank you. Come and see me, and I'll make a list of that. Some of you are my customers when it comes to broadband and the services that we offer there that we took over from when we took over Orpheus a few years ago now. Hopefully most of you are lucky enough not to need my support for technical issues on your broadband line. Some of you may have needed me to do things for you, but to be quite honest, over the last couple of years we've struggled to keep the support at a level that I'm happy and confident with. There have been some issues that have taken longer than they should have done, and it really came to a head a couple of months ago with our current supplier, who we've been using most probably for almost 15 years. And I had to do a fibre to the premises provide, and I'm ashamed to say it took me 8 weeks. Now, there were external problems. BT aren't always the best, but the last BT engineer, this was up in Edinburgh, so it wasn't as if I could pop around the corner and actually physically be on site and apply the knowledge that I have. It had to be done on the phone, and the customer was sort of talking about maybe we need to find a different solution. And I was agreeing with him because it was very, very frustrating. But the last BT engineer, so this is a rule, if you ever have a BT engineer, whether it's me or any other service, make certain there's tea and bickies for him. They really do appreciate it, and they appreciate it when people say thank you to them. I'm sure everyone in this room would do that, but yeah, be nice to the BT engineer, because the good ones are really worth it. We had a lovely guy there for the last one, and he resolved all of the issues that hadn't been resolved over the 8 weeks, and he spent all day with my customer. But he said at the end, well, it's so nice to be able to talk to their service provider, and you've been nice to me, and your customer's been nice to me. So I think that speaks volumes. It's very kind of him to say that, but he stayed there all day and made certain that the job was done. I'm very unhappy with the time frame, and the majority of this was down to our long-time supplier. So, although they were speaking to me and said, "Well, don't worry, let's work together. We'll get there." So I said, "Fine, okay," and sort of went off feeling a little bit grumpy, as I'm sure you can imagine. And unfortunately, just over a week ago, we had another lack of communication. I won't bore you with the story here, but it's prompted me now, at Genesis, we're looking to find a new provider. And I'm very pleased to say we've found one in very short order. They have rung me back when they've promised to. They've picked up the phone very rapidly whenever I ring them. And I made an inquiry for a customer's order, and that was by email. I had a reply in 10 minutes, as opposed to what I get from my current provider. The world does change, so whereas in the past when we did a contract, the price was set with the contract, unfortunately that's now no longer the case. BT have decided to do all this business of putting their prices up every year due to percentage points, and unfortunately that spills down to us. The new company though has said to me, well, we'll see what the price is, and either we'll have to pass it all on to you, in which case it's then up to me to decide, can I absorb the cost or do I have to pass it on to the customers? Or we won't pass it on at all, but we'll tell you that it's happened and we'll absorb the cost. And the third option is that we might split it 50-50 between us. So all of that is good news for my customers, because hopefully that means I can keep the costs at a lower level than it would be if every time the cost of living has gone up by 3%, we had to put 3% on, because that's what BT have done, and it moves all the way down the line to our end users. So that's another plus point of talking with this company. I put an order in for a new service last Tuesday, and it should be fitted this coming Tuesday. I've never had an order go through in 7 days. That's very, very fast. So I will keep you posted. You can always ring me up and say, did you get it? One of the nice things is that some of the prices that I'm now showing, yes, I have a countdown here. Thank you, Bernard. That's not counting down. Charles, am I overrunning? Not yet. Oh, good. Thank you.
12 minutes to it.
Oh, right. Oh, it's been, yes. So, we have a new service that I can provide, which is unusual in broadband terms. You've heard of fibre to the cabinet, you've heard of fibre to the premises, which is the one that we're all desperately trying to move on to because of the BT switch off. But all of those services are technically what we call asynchronous. So you get a much faster download. So I'll use Orpheus as the example. We have a 1 gig download. That's great. But the maximum upload I can have on that is 115. So I'm always looking to increase that because that's the speed that when you're coming to me to download your emails, I have to upload them. So there have been times when you have an attack, it gets very congested and there's a slowdown. Generally we run fairly well and most people seem happy. I'm hoping that we'll have now synchronous fibre to the premises. So it's the same speed both up and down. So next week I hope to be the proud owner of a shiny new 1 gig down but 1 gig up. And that should really make quite a large difference. So I know we've had issues in the past with some of the size of the downloads for RISC OS developments, which I am the host for. They've been a bit slow when you've all been very eager to get some new software. With 1 gig upload, subject to survey next Tuesday, but it is available in my area. If you're interested in looking at either fibre to the premises or the synchronous fibre to the premises, I have the prices on the stand and you can always ask me and we can have a look. Not everyone can have it. I have a local businessman who has our fibre at his house. He's got a 1 gig 115. Unfortunately, although he's only 10 miles away from me, he can't have the synchronous fibre. But he can have a faster fibre standard line. We can now go up to 1.8 gigabytes download or 1,800 megabytes download and 120 up. So there are more options there. Our standard offerings, the prices have dropped. So the old 1 gig that we retailed was £76. The new supplier, I've been able to do that for £65. So quite a reasonable saving. Some of the others, not quite so much. But again, I've got some leaflets on the stand. Come and have a look. I would really love to show this to you and talk about it, because I do have to get you all to move. You do need to move, especially with the BT switch off. Are there any questions? Because I've waffled on for far too long tonight. Any questions for Rod or for Genesis? Yes?
When you talk about the RISC OS on Pi 5, what's the emulation situation? What emulator are you using? Can you use Emulor on it?
I don't know about Emulor. You'd need to talk to Andrew and ask him that question. Sorry, Bernard. I haven't even had a chance to play. That was something I was meant to do this week, and I just didn't have enough time.
And the emulator that you're using?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
If you ask Andrew, he'll be able to give you all the details, and as I say, he'll be demonstrating. Yes. So.
Hi. Just talking about the NVMe FS, is it basically a newer version of like Share FS but powerful?
No, it's not part of Share FS. We couldn't. Share F, being as old as it is a little bit more restricted. So in this instance, because it's based on the block driver that the NVMe FS is, when we looked at it, was it 4 or 5 weeks ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's only 4 or 5 weeks since we actually said, oh, Andy said, let's have a try with this to see what we could do. And because it's the block driver, it's a lot simpler to actually achieve that. So that's why it would be nice to have it in Share FS. I believe one of the other exhibitors out there is doing things with Share FS. I think it's Paolo.
Yes.
So, you could have a word with him. We were unaware of that at the time.
Right. I just want to add as well, I did some testing this week for Andrew with the RISC OS Direct for the Pi 5, and it does work really, really well. Really well. It's really quick. So
Right.
all the apps on RISC OS Direct are working perfectly.
That's what Andrew told me.
Yeah.
So yes, someone's done their homework this week. I haven't. So thank you
we
ever so
haven't been
much.
formally introduced, but I was the guy that did the themes for Iris.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
Yes.
yes. I know we've communicated on it. Come and see me at the stand and
Yeah,
have a chat.
yeah.
So, anything else, anyone? No? Well, in that case, with 7 minutes to spare, I've not obviously gone over long this time. Thank you ever so much.